Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a special online event today called Discover the Generous, Loving Energy of Money. Ignite the healing power of money in every area of your life. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder, president, CEO of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted to be with you here today, partially because I'm getting to be exposed to and learn from a new teacher to me. Her name is Sarah McCrum, and she's a leading author, money consciousness teacher, and coach. She's somebody who's been getting a lot of accolades from a lot of directions. Her name's been coming up for a while, and we just got very excited at the Shift Network to bring forward her core teachings around money. Part of the reason is money is an area where we often have some splits and baggage and history around it. And sometimes people view it as a non-spiritual thing. And that actually puts us at a disadvantage to bring in what we're here to truly bring in as souls. And so shifting our whole relationship with money is really central to the project of creating a shift on the planet and manifesting who we truly are, as well as just alleviating unnecessary suffering. So Sarah is the founder of the Consciousness of Money program, and she also runs the Game Changers Connect program, where she teaches self-mastery and advanced techniques for solving big problems. So welcome, Sarah.
Thanks very much, Stephen. I'm really delighted to be here.
Well, I'm delighted that you're here, and we're going to have this hour with you, and I want to let everybody know that we are going to have a brand new program with Sarah coming up. So we'll share a little bit about that towards the end of the hour while we still get the most value we can from this time together. The program is called The Generous, Loving Energy of Money, so more to come on that. So Sarah, let's begin this journey today by sharing a little bit about your journey. What is it that brought you to feel that it was important, vital, essential to bring out the teaching and work around money and spirit coming together in a new way?
Well, it was really something that happened to me because back in 2010, I was in London in the UK, and I lost my business. Well, I didn't really lose it. We couldn't pay our bills, and so we had to close it, which was a very difficult situation. And soon after that, I was given this little tiny book called How to Be a Money Magnet, and it had those exercises at the end of each chapter. And one of the exercises said, "What does money want to say to you?" And so I started writing in my notebook, and literally my pen started to write itself. And it came completely out of the blue. And the first words that my pen wrote were, "I want to tell you to love me." And then I wrote about a whole page, and the last words, and it seemed like money was speaking directly to me, the last words it said were, "I will love you." And in between, it described how it is literally an energy that is not a neutral energy, but a really beautiful, loving energy that is generous, that is light, that is always here to help us, that is there to serve our creativity. And so it gave me this extraordinary message about money that I had never come across before. And that's really what started the whole thing. I did 22 years of training with Chinese masters, so I was totally into energy already. But this new approach to it was a language that I'd never come across. And so I basically had to learn from scratch, more or less literally, because I'd totally run out of money at that stage in my life. I had to learn how to apply this new knowledge that I was given, because in the days following that, and then eventually the months following that, I decided to see if money would give me any more messages. And every single day I sat down to write, and every single day something else came out of my pen. And every single one was a surprise. And I ended up with 69 sections, which I put together in a book, which is called Love Money, Money Loves You. And it became a kind of blueprint and a framework for changing my relationship with money initially, and then later for teaching other people how to do that.
It's a fascinating story. I've never heard of anyone else who essentially is like opening to letting money, money speak through them, if you will. And so do you kind of see, I think we're used to thinking of that like goddesses or archetypes, and sometimes it's like, I guess it makes sense that any entity that has a constellation of consciousness around it starts to take on its own intelligence after a time. So you really feel that like money is in a way kind of a misunderstood entity?
Oh, very much misunderstood. It actually says that. It says in about the third chapter that you have all misunderstood the true nature of money. Even very wealthy people are just not getting what it's about. And through the various chapters where it describes how it works, it kind of talks about what happens behind the scenes when we want something or when we want some more money. And I got this picture of it almost being like this kind of bizarre government, like a kind of big bureaucracy of, I don't know, you can think of it like beings or however you want to imagine it, but it's like every request we make as human beings, they have to listen to and they have to do something with. And so when we say things like, oh, I really want that, but I can't afford it, they have to listen to what we're saying. And they describe what happens when you say something like that, or when you say, oh, I'd really love that, and you leave space for them to deliver whatever it is that you're looking for. So it became for me a very lively kind of relationship in a way. I really see it as money that is full of activity and engagement in what we're doing as human beings.
Well, it's fascinating what you're saying, and it makes sense to me. And there's also a legacy of a lot of conditioning to overcome. I mean, the phrase that's become almost like an accepted truth in spiritual circles is the love of money is the root of all evil. So it sort of puts almost the exact opposite of what you're saying, right? That the love of money is the problem that then distorts things, versus what you're saying, which is maybe it's less about attachment or greed or like wanting it just for yourself. It's actually more appreciative. Maybe explain the difference between what the historical understanding of money in spiritual circles is with what you're being shown as well.
I think the really significant difference is that it is about us loving money, but that bit only takes you so far. The thing that seems to really shift things for people is this idea that money actually loves us. So money is an aspect of love. Of course, if you really look at it spiritually, that totally makes sense because everything in life is an aspect of love. But money is the thing that we've almost put furthest away of all. And so we've got this very distorted relationship with it. So I think that if you even have at a deep, very unconscious level, the feeling that money is perhaps bad or dangerous or evil or something that could cause you to go off on the wrong track, and most of us have that kind of programming, whether we're religious or not. It's so steeped into our culture. If you have that kind of subtle feeling, it's really easy to get into guilt. You can get into shame. And these things happen to people who have money as well as people who don't have it. There's a lot of rejection of money, I find. A lot of ignoring of it. People just saying, well, I have to deal with it, but I don't want to look at it. Now, when you start to connect with money as an aspect of love and to consider what it would be like if you have a relationship with it where it's actually loving you, it's not you just loving it. So your love is this reciprocation of its love. That totally changes the dynamic. And what I've seen is that people often for the first time are actually able to really relax. It's a huge sense of relief for them because they can bring together their spirituality with their material life, with their everyday life, and they don't have to separate parts of it off anymore, usually in a kind of, well, I'm just not going to look at that box. And so it allows a really deep integration of the spiritual and the material, or of ourself and life, because money in a way is the generosity, it's the giving energy of life to us. What I discovered is that it's much more than just cash and notes and transactions. It really relates to the way we ask. It connects with that ask and ye shall receive. It's the delivery part of the receiving, in a way, is what this energy is. So it's a very fundamental part of our life. And if we're denying that, even in just part of it, we're literally cutting ourselves off from ourselves. So what I've really loved is to see the way people find this kind of relief, and it enables them to come back to themselves.
Fascinating. Well, you say that when you start to experience money loving you, so I think that's a very interesting concept, but how does it actually manifest tangibly? It's like, you're used to a warm puppy dog or a beloved cuddling up with you. It's like, you don't really have some of the tactile components with money. So how do you experience money loving you?
Well, one of the things that I do is I actually teach people how to have a conversation with money, kind of like I did. And it's amazing. I've done that with so many people, and the message that comes through is so consistent. So I literally teach people how to ask questions and receive answers directly from money so that money's communicating with them. And then you can literally feel the love. I was just running a class for the last few days, and the sense of love in the room is so tangible and so deep because money kind of connects into everything. We tend to think of it as something perhaps a bit superficial, but we can't get out of bed in the morning without engaging with money. Every single thing that we do in our life, money is a part of it. And so it's actually an energy that goes really deep into our roots. And I think we haven't really realized that. And so when we start to accept and engage with this energy, there's a field, literally an energy field that forms. And whenever I'm working with that energy, whenever I'm talking about it, I can feel the field around me. And it is a field that is so full of love. And it's not a gushy kind of love. It's like a deep, powerful, unlimited, unconditional love that is emanating from life, so to speak, and simply includes us. It kind of enfolds us all the time. And once you become conscious of it, you start to actually experience it. So if you think money's the devil or something bad, you're never going to engage at that level with it. But if you start to admit into your frame of reference, so to speak, the possibility that money could be a loving kind of energy, then you start to change from inside yourself. And that's when you start to experience it.
How do you reconcile this with, I think there's some very legitimate critiques over economic system that's sort of aggregating more and more wealth for fewer people. So it seems like sometimes the people who most are attracted to money aggregate a lot of it and keep it for more selfish purposes. How do you see that as a distortion of the real intent and loving quality of money?
Well, it's really clear to me that if somebody does that, they are not having this kind of relationship with money. They've misunderstood it, and they're using it as a way maybe of gaining power or maybe of filling a hole in themselves, or using it as a way of control. You would never do that when you understand that money is coming from love. It's just the most natural thing when you feel the generosity of this energy to share it or to want to talk to other people about it. And that's one of the most fascinating things, because when I teach people about it, I'm constantly hearing people say, I'm going to take this into my work. I was working with a financial controller the other day. She's looking at how she can take that into her work. Fundraisers, they want to take the consciousness of money, the energy of money into their work. So if you connect with love around money, you naturally share because there's a flow. You're able to receive money. It doesn't feel limited because you're not feeling guilty about it, and you're able to pass it on. And so it actually encourages more flow in every direction.
That's interesting. So part of where people may get, because there's a fear pattern underneath a lot of folks, and they're clinging onto it. They're not letting it flow through to where it needs to go. And that's part of where you would get the distortion, because it's like they're not living in the love relationship with that flow. Rather, they just want to hold on to it for a sense of safety.
Yeah, it's like a personal relationship. If you feel insecure in a personal relationship, it's so easy to start to try to control the other person and limit them. And we see that all the time. And if you can open up to love, you feel generous and giving towards them, and you want them to express themselves, and you want them to have a full life. So our relationship with money is really similar to our relationship with our partner or other people who are very close to us. And we found that very often that as we open up this relationship with money, it opens up our relationship with other people, and it also opens up our relationship with ourselves and with life, because they're all aspects of the same thing. They're all connected with love.
Let's talk a little bit more specifically about how to release some of the old programming, the guilt, the shame, the judgment. So since pretty much everybody is carrying some of that from their family lineage or the cultural story. So how do you begin to shift that?
Well, in the course, I'm actually going to teach 3 different ways, but fundamentally, one part of it is the energy. So we have energy in us that is old and is just functioning under the surface all the time. Some of the messaging we've received from our parents, from our culture, from our education, even karmically, that's all playing out. Now, the beautiful thing about energy is when you start to replace that energy with new energy, most of the old energy gets rid of itself. You don't have to pay a lot of attention to it. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about working more with love and with energy. We don't have to do really hard things to dig out the negativity. It's more like by changing our perception, a lot of that drops away. Also, by becoming more conscious in our relationship with money, there's a beautiful thing about consciousness. When you observe something, and especially if you observe something that is not functioning well in your life, just by doing that, it starts to change automatically. So we don't need to work nearly as hard as I think we have in the past to shift those energy blockages. And of course, the other thing is bringing in love. When you bring in love, and every human being is capable of love, it softens so much of your defenses, the ways that you have held yourself separate from the world. And when you allow that to open up, you just so naturally let go of things that are not working well for you. So I think dealing with the negativity, of course, it's important, but it's getting easier. It's getting lighter, and especially when we engage with this kind of energy and relationship with money.
You've said that money is actually aligned with the deepest wishes of your soul. I'd love to hear you explain a bit more about why that is and how it can be actually the biggest catalyst for our purpose.
Well, one of the things that I found when I was writing the book was that money started to teach me how to ask for things. I asked for whatever I wanted. And what I discovered when I started to practice it was that there is a place within me where requests come from. These are the requests of my soul. They somehow come in through my heart. They're very spontaneous. They're very sweet requests, if you like. They're not the things where, oh, I ought to want this. I ought to want to make $1 million this year because that's what people like me do. Or I really ought to want whatever it is. It's that kind of free, natural flow of spontaneous soul desire, if you like. Once you tap into that, it seems like there's almost like a stream of these kinds of desires. And to me now, I've come to recognize that that's one of the ways that the soul expresses itself. It's kind of like saying, oh, I'd love to go over there. Oh, I'd love to experience that. Hey, how about a bit of that? And those very natural, spontaneous desires, if we can listen to them and respect them, those are the kinds of wishes that this energy of money, which is also the energy of creativity, if you like, can respond to very fluidly and very easily. So it's much easier actually to engage through your soul and your heart with money than it is to engage through your head, which is what's often been taught in terms of manifestation techniques.
Mm-hmm. So what you want to be doing is open, kind of meditating into an open place with your heart, and just kind of like seeing. I think we're going to go into a little guided process here, and then you become more receptive rather than having an agenda of what it is that you're wanting. Then you're asking based upon something that drops in. Is that basically what you're saying?
My experience is almost more that it rises up. For some people, it might drop in. Yes, it is about being relaxed. All the way through the book, Money talks about three things. It says relax, enjoy, and love. And at one point it says, I can't understand why you guys don't get it about enjoyment. I'm really talking about enjoyment. And it asks people to practice every single day, just enjoying, because we seem to have got so serious about money. So it's not so much about doing a technique. It's about finding that kind of spontaneous, natural, happy, kind of loving, enjoying energy within you. And then if you're like that, your requests, your desires will automatically connect with the system of money. Of course, the issue is that we're not always like that, and we do have blockages, and we have been very serious about money, and we do get confused about it. And so that's some of the stuff that we need to clear out of the way.
I think now would be a good time to do the guided healing practice. This is the highest rated bullet point in describing today. People are really excited to do this guided healing practice to clear the blocks and raise the vibration to align with the energy of love. So let's take some time to do that.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and we're going to go straight into it here, and we're going to connect with this very beautiful energy of money. So sit very quietly and let your mind quieten down as much as you can. And very simply allow yourself to relax, to breathe into your lower belly, and to start to sense with your subtle senses the energy field that is forming with every single person who's listening to this little activation. It doesn't matter when you listen to it in time, but there is a field of energy, which is the loving energy of money, that is all around you right now. And you may be able to feel it already. So allow yourself to receive this loving energy. Even if it feels uncomfortable or it feels very strange to connect love with money, give yourself these few minutes to see what that feels like, to open up and to let love in. Let your whole body expand. And your whole being, let it soften. Let down the defenses and the pretenses. Because this exquisite energy of money is flowing all around you and through you. And if you allow yourself to receive it, it will help you. It will support you. It will support your soul and your life. It'll support you in receiving all the resources you need for whatever you want to create. So allow yourself to relax into this energy and receive it. And as you relax, as you allow the love of the energy we call money to influence you, to flow through you, to become a part of you, you are naturally letting go of old energy, of old programs, and of old ways that don't work anymore. So let this beautiful energy soften and melt those old thoughts and old beliefs and replace them with a new energy and a new relationship with money. And as we start to come to an end now, just that few minutes and the time that we're spending together in this interview are activating this new relationship for you and changing your energy directly as you open to the possibility of a loving, generous relationship with money and with life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What a lovely, lovely guided meditation there. And one of the things that sort of opened for me is just this sense of, that reciprocity flow. There's just noticing this subtle programming of that. It's like money is like something you kind of go out to get rather than just open to flow back and forth. It has a kind of a quieter peacefulness about that too, rather than striving.
Yes, it really allows us to work in a different way. It allows us to relax, really relax in life, and especially in business. I work mostly with entrepreneurs, and the change it makes when they start to realize that money's on their side and it's not something they've got to get, but something that actually willingly wants to come to them. If they can open up to it, if they can allow themselves to enjoy and relax and love without guilt and without shame and all that other stuff, it makes such a huge difference to people.
I'd love to hear like a specific story. You don't have to name a name, but like somebody who's really like how they took this journey and then what opened as a result for them in terms of manifesting their soul purpose.
Well, I can think of one woman who actually works in a law firm. She was asked to take over this very heady, very old-fashioned, extremely hardworking law firm. And she was absolutely determined that it would become a business based in love, a heart-based law business, which is a pretty big challenge, especially in Australia. And so she went in, she'd learnt about this energy of money. And interestingly, when she first learnt about money, she thought, oh, I'm no good with money at all. She thought she didn't have a good relationship with it. And then she started to really look at it, and she realized that she actually has already quite a good relationship with it, but she wanted to take it into the business. And so she went in, she started working with people, and she got the team very on board. And she had a very difficult time with the board of the whole business. It was part of a much bigger business, and they were being very kind of old-fashioned, rather masculine, kind of, all about targets and things like that. But the interesting thing is that by making this shift in the business, she was able to surprise them. They actually had to adjust the targets upwards because the whole team settled down. They started working much better together. They started supporting each other. And of course, that flows into the business. It flows in every single direction. So what I found is that people get results at the level where they are. I've had somebody who had been looking for investment for 7 years, and it has got really, really stressful. And once he shifted this relationship, which he did extremely quickly, he read my book and we had a few conversations. He was literally able to go out and ask for the investment. He got $25 million just like that. Now, that was appropriate for him. He was operating at that level. There's another woman who had not been working. She had retired. She made glasses, spectacles that people like Barbara Streisand used to wear. So she was very successful, and then she'd retired, and she got a little bit of a hint that people wanted to wear these glasses again, because of course that's the baby boomer generation. And so it's a huge, it's a lot of people out there. And so she started to engage back into working because she really, really wanted to have some money of her own. She was living off retirement money with her husband, and he was quite controlling of it all. She wanted to do it for herself. And so she started to engage again with the company that produced the glasses and is now in the process of negotiating a contract with them, which I don't think she would have dreamt would have been possible. So it's really this is about the sole purpose, like for her to find that money for herself with products that she loved creating is exactly the right thing for her. For the entrepreneur who is looking for investment, doing something like that would have been nothing for him, but to actually go and get the investment, get exactly what he wanted at the level that he was operating, that was the right thing for him. And I think that's the beautiful thing about money. It's not obviously one thing for all people. It's about finding exactly what's right for you, for your life, for your soul, and then learning from there how to create the results that make you feel really good. Because that's the point. The more I've engaged with money, the more I was able to access joy, which I used to find quite hard. That feeling of beauty, making things that are beautiful. So it connects us with feeling really good.
It's interesting. A lot of what you say makes me think of Lakshmi. In the Hindu system, there's been more of a celebration of this facet of abundance and the sort of pouring forth of the goddess's blessings, if you will. And we have a more ascetic kind of emphasis in the West, or more self-deprivation in a lot of Western religion. So is that been influential in your own understanding? Is that kind of Lakshmi pouring forth of blessings and abundance?
Funnily enough, I've had no connection, more or less, with Indian systems, but a friend of mine who does a wonderful thing called resonance mapping and can kind of check the energy of just about anything, he was looking into the roots of this energy of money, and that's exactly what he said. He said it's really the same level as the energy of Lakshmi. So I think you're spot on there.
Interesting. Well, let's talk a little bit more about money triggers. So I think that, it's fairly common in a situation like this, people start to relax and open to new possibility, and then boop, they get activated into an old complex, day later, a week later. So how do you go about working with this loving energy when you're activated, right? Which I guess is not a whole lot different than when you're activated in a loving partnership as well.
Well, exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of triggers, and especially it's worth mentioning a few of them, I think, because they come up so commonly. So one of the things that I find really triggers people is this feeling of guilt. And especially in many of the audiences that I connect with who are really aligned with their purpose, many of them wanting to work in alignment with their purpose, so do what they love or do something that's really meaningful. So many people struggle to ask for money, and they struggle to value themselves, and they just don't even want to have the conversation. And so they give away all their services for free. And then they feel heartbroken in a way because they're not making money, but they feel heartbroken if they have to ask for money. And so there's this conflict that arises inside people. I can't receive it. I can't ask for it. I want to be generous, but then they're generous with very little. So they're having to give everything in order to be a generous person. And it creates a very uncomfortable place inside you. So I think, like I said before, the main thing is that when you actually engage with love, just like in a personal relationship, if you're up in arms against your partner, if you're determined to prove that I'm right and you're wrong and you're the one who's doing everything that's ruining this relationship, that's exactly what you're going to get. And it's really difficult to resolve. But if you're willing to accept that you both want to have love, you both want to experience love, if you're willing to connect, in this case, with this beautiful energy of money, it's much easier because it never gets up in arms with us. We can get up in arms with it, but it's always there, always supplying. So if you can start to connect with that, and I can show you lots of ways to do that, everybody can do it. It's not that hard. Then what happens is that those blockages start to melt. Sometimes you need specific techniques. When we're really triggered and it's triggering stuff that's unconscious in you, you have no idea where it's coming from, there are special techniques. And I teach those kinds of techniques because that's like bringing in the plumber to clean the drains. There are times when you can't just do it by running the tap down the drain. So you actually need to bring in a plumber who's got the right equipment to do it. It's all equipment that you can use yourself once you know how to. So, the main thing is shifting the relationship. For me, I've had enough. I've done it a lot. I've had enough of removing blockages without having that loving relationship behind it, because there is a never-ending rising up of blockages. That there's just no end to the amount of clearings you can do. But if you allow love into the picture, a lot gets done for you, a lot gets melted for you, and the satisfaction and the fulfillment start to fill in the hole where you cleared all that stuff out. And so life starts to feel better and better. It actually makes a really big difference.
Mm. So how do you work with, so you'd mentioned guilt is often one of the things that really holds people back. So like people on our, part of the Shift Network are very conscious, really wanting to design a new world. And so there's inequalities. It's like if we're in the West, like living in an abundant, prosperous way is like, a far cry from what an average Indian villager is able to do. And so how to work with, like, what's in a way, the right level of enjoyment of one's own fruits in abundance versus the kind of recirculating that out to those who have less than, which I think is an important question for all of us.
Yeah, it's a really important question. So the book actually talks about this to some extent as well. There are a couple of things here that I've found to be really important. First of all, we don't set a good example by feeling guilty or being uptight or by refusing the energy of money. We don't set a good example for our kids doing that, for the people around us, or for anybody anywhere in the world, because essentially you create this energy that emanates from you of tightness and fear and guilt and restriction. So throughout the book, money says all the time, I am unlimited. I am unlimited. There is enough of me to make every single person on the planet a billionaire if you want to be. And there's no suggestion that anybody has to be a billionaire. It's entirely a free choice, but it's so emphatic about that. And I've come to recognize that it's true. And so when I asked myself that question, I just asked what would make the most difference to people who don't have money in any situation, whether they're in our culture or in another culture. And there are plenty of them. And it's really clear to me that if you teach people how to access this energy, they don't need to have a government that's set up to give them access. They don't need to have everything arranged already. It would be wonderful if governments or if cultures had a better distribution of money, and that will come in time, but it's not here right now. So for me, what's really important is that we give people the tools and the knowledge and the wisdom so that they can go direct. It's kind of like, let's go to the horse's mouth, if you like. Let's go direct to money and get it working. And one of the beautiful things is that I've worked recently with a lot of Russians. I have a client who has a very large Russian following, and she's introduced me to her social media following. And I've had letters from people saying, I read your book and I've tripled my income in 6 months just by following what happened in your book. Now, she didn't learn anything from me. It's very likely that she was making very little money in the first place, but she just went and got the message and applied it. And I have a VA who works in the Philippines, and she told me not long ago, because she just listens to everything she can that I produce. She says, whenever I want some money, Sarah, if I don't have enough, I just lie down on my bed and I relax and I have a conversation with money and we get it sorted out, and then it works. So I actually think that this knowledge makes money much more accessible to us. And so it's more a question of sharing it. And you want to share the knowledge if you're coming from love. You don't want to withhold knowledge and keep it all for myself, because it just doesn't work like that.
Fascinating. Well, we've covered a fair amount of ground already. Is there anything else that you're wanting to talk about before we share a little bit about your upcoming course?
I think the most important thing to recognize, I sometimes talk about a beautiful life. And I remember the days when that seemed very far away from me. I did many years of training. I've sat hours and hours, thousands of hours, cross-legged, relaxing and connecting and meditating to try to feel good, to try to feel in alignment with life. And if I put my hand on my heart, after something like 22 years of training with Chinese masters, I mean, I really went full on at it. I was not really happy. I had a lot of ability. There was a lot that I could do, and there was a lot that I could help people with, but I didn't feel good. And I would never, ever have believed that going into the heart of the root of all evil, if you like, was what would actually unlock that for me. And I can now speak with real sincerity about creating a beautiful life and knowing that that's possible for anybody. It's step by step. I've had to learn, and I feel like I've been on a process of learning every single detail. So I'm not going to say this happens overnight. This is the work of consciousness, and so it takes time. But to know that you can be on that path, and that it is real, and that you can feel it and experience it for yourself. I think that's really important to know that, especially if you're one of those people who's feeling that you're still struggling quite a lot inside in spite of everything that you've learned so far.
Well, your sincerity and authenticity is really, it builds a lot of trust and really just draws us in. So thank you for being so honest about your own journey with money and your own opening to the ingredients of a beautiful life. So I think this is a good time to talk explicitly about your upcoming program we've mentioned a few times. And part of the reason we do this is because we are in the transformation business. We want to help you grow, transform, to evolve, to not just be inspired for a few moments and then forget about it, but to really have a lasting change. And so Sarah has partnered with us to create a really extraordinary program called The Generous, Loving Energy of Money: 7 Steps to Realize Your Soul's Purpose Through Your Relationship with Money. It's built on the kind of teachings that you've been hearing today, the kind of insights, and it really goes much deeper into practices and the specific unraveling of the old stories and the opening to a new story and new relationship. So you can find the program laid out in a lot of detail at lovingenergyofmoney.com, lovingenergyofmoney.com. It's going to be a 7-week program and really sets these foundations in place, block by block, in your life for a whole new kind of relationship with money, which then ultimately filters into every other aspect of how you are showing up in the world and how you are enjoying yourself. So, Sarah, I'd love for you to share about what you're excited to bring forward and really help people transform in this new program.
Well, I think what I'm really excited about is that when you come together in a group and explore this relationship, because it's a very personal exploration for each person, it starts to change from the moment you engage with it. I've seen this over and over again. I've seen people have the most powerful breakthroughs when they're just exposed to a little bit of the book or a little bit of of a conversation around your relationship with money and how it could be if you bring in this new knowledge. So there's something about the group, the energy field that will be created with the group over that 7-week process, and everybody going deeper and deeper. I found people get so engaged with it because it opens something up in you that perhaps has never been opened before. So it's that kind of thing that makes me feel really excited about the course. It's seeing you. And the other thing is seeing people in the latter part. I know that what will happen is you'll start saying, I tried it, Sarah, and it worked. And this happened. I got this result, the tangible results that people start to report as they get into the course. It builds up. It's not really just for me, it's about everybody listening to that. And there's this kind of build up of energy that comes as people report results. I love to hear that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Well, the program is going to be, as we said, you can see the details laid out at lovingenergyofmoney.com. And it's going to be a live stream video course that allows you to ask your specific questions, to really work with Sarah in a live context, to also engage other people. We have the live calls, we got videos, we got audio recordings, we've got transcripts, we've got breakout groups, all these different things to support you in having a breakthrough in this area. The course is going to be on Wednesdays at noon Pacific time. And Sarah, why don't you take us on a little tour of the modules, the 7 weeks, and what people can expect?
Okay, well, the first module is called Reimagining Your Relationship with Money. And it really takes us from where we leave off in this conversation now to actually really connect with money, explore the deeper nature of it, and start to imagine what it's going to be like to have a genuinely loving relationship with money, and talk with other people about that. There's something amazing that happens when you open up and start to talk about your own experience of money. In the second module, we're going to get into releasing money blockages. It is really important to address them. I'm going to make it as easy as possible. I'm going to teach you 3 ways of doing it that are all very natural, and I think you will find blockages start to disappear automatically. But it is stuff that we do need to address because otherwise it gets in the way. In the third module, we're going to be looking at how to transform external money triggers. So this is the big stuff that triggers us. This is the government stuff. This is the institutions that you've grown to really resent because of the way they treat people. This touches in with some of the questions that Stephen's asked me today. How do you deal with that? And how do you use those triggers to actually open your heart? I'm going to teach you a specific method that will help you to open your heart and be able to become more creative in your way of creating solutions to the problems rather than just complaining about the problems or feeling really angry at them. The fourth session is going to be a kind of grounding session. It's the middle one in the course, and so I'm going to focus on coaching. I will be coaching in every session because I love to coach, and I think there's so much benefit that comes from people's questions. But in this one, we're going to bring all the questions about the new relationship and also about the blockages and the triggers, and make sure that you're finding some peace in all of that so that you can build on that foundation of peace for the rest of the program. So in the fifth module, it's going to be looking at how we make beautiful requests and how you align with this desire, let's say, of money to actually give to you, to support you. So a beautiful request is a way of communicating with money that money can respond to very easily. And I'm going to teach you how to do that, because I've had so much practice, both for myself. I had to literally learn how to do it because I couldn't do it when I wrote the book. I had to go and practice and find out how it works. And I've also had a tremendous amount of practice helping other people to ask for what they want and actually receive it. So it's a very beautiful kind of inner technology that I'm going to teach you. In the 6th module, we're going to look at how you can align those beautiful requests with your soul's purpose. And I will help you if anyone feels unsure about your soul's purpose, or you want to go deeper into it. And in my experience, we can always go deeper into it. So we're going to actually connect more deeply with your soul's purpose. And then we're going to look at how that relates to these requests or desires of your soul, which lead it on this journey through life and take it on a kind of adventure, which seems to me to be what it actually came here to experience. So that's how to bring yourself into alignment with your deepest purpose, which is not as serious as it sounds. It has a lightness and a freedom to it, which is what we so much long to experience. And then the final session will be about how you embody this beautiful, loving energy of money in your work in the world. And it really doesn't matter if you're a parent or a grandparent, you're running a global organization, you have some grand vision that you haven't started yet, you're an investor, whatever your relationship with money. This is really where the knowledge that I'm sharing with you gets to change the world. Because if more of us have this kind of relationship with money and are able to come from love in our work or in our contribution to the world, not only do we create a beautiful energy that supports the whole collective of humanity, but we actually have the power to go out and make whatever difference it is that we want to. Because as you open up to love and you're not conflicted anymore about money, you're able to access resources when you need them. And you have the power of love that will drive you to create change. So this is a very important session that brings the whole course together.
Well, I love that you conclude with that, because it's really at the heart of what we're doing with the Shift Network. It's awakening people and moving into actions that really can transform the world, and to do so in alignment with our soul purpose. So this is a program that's right at the heart of what it means to be a conscious change agent in the world. We need to be able to access resources to manifest that which we are require for our own well-being and the well-being of all those that we touch and work with. So what a great gift this program will be. So again, you can find the details that Sarah said and explained at a high level at lovingenergyofmoney.com. You can also get registered there. It's going to start on July 10th, and there's also draw your attention to a number of extra bonuses that really enhance the core value of this program. There's an ebook from Sarah, Love Money, Money Loves You, which is what she referenced earlier, so you can get full access to that. There's a video interview with Sarah and Matt Murphy called Getting Real About Money. Matt is a successful accountancy business and really asking about how to apply this in the real world of business and family life. There's a PDF guide from Sarah called Money is Your Friend, so talk with it. And also a fascinating combination between Sarah and with Gary Malkin, who's a beautiful musician, called Transformance. Money is the energy of love. And also I should note that there's a special bonus which is available when you sign up today. We like to do this as a way to encourage you to go to the page and tune in. And if you're feeling the call to this kind of liberated relationship with money and really life, then you get an extra incentive to do so today. So that's called the Game Changers Journey. It's an audio teaching with PDF companion from Sarah. Sarah, you want to share about what the Game Changers Journey is, the special bonus when they sign up today?
Yes, it links with exactly what you said is the mission of the Shift Network. So people who are called to this kind of work are natural game changers. We want to change the game, the way things are done on this planet. And the Game Changers Journey is a description of the typical journey, a bit like the hero's journey, but brought into the 21st century and really relevant to the challenges that we face today. It's a tiny little book. It's the size of an iPhone that describes the arc of a game changer's life. This was something that I discovered when I was looking at people I was working with. And I found that people find it really helpful to see the stages that they're going to go through are or are already going through, and also how to deal with the particular challenges that come up for game changers, because they're not always what you would expect. Many game changers ignore exactly the challenges that will turn them into a great game changer. So that's what it's all about.
Great. Well, the world needs more game changers. So thank you for helping to empower all of us who are on that path. So again, that's the extra bonus when you get signed up by midnight tonight, Pacific time. So again, I encourage you to go to the page at lovingenergyofmoney.com. Give it a read, tune in. If you're getting a yes, there's really no risk and a lot of reward from taking this journey, from opening up this new kind of relationship through healing the legacy of patterning that prevents us from really accessing the kind of abundant flow of resources and possibility that really can empower our biggest dreams. So, so Sarah, what a great energy you bring to this. What a beautiful, empowering spirit and very practical wisdom as well. So thank you for this hour together, and thank you for your upcoming program. Is there anything that, as we have a minute or so left, that you wanted still on your heart, you want to share with folks who are thinking about joining you for the journey?
Yeah, there's one thing I would like to share. Sometimes people say, oh, money, I don't want to go there. It's probably the biggest objections. I just don't want to go there. I want to say, if you feel like that, this is probably exactly the time to go there, because of the change that happens when you do. And the thing that I can promise is that it's actually a gentle journey. It's a very kind journey. It's obviously loving, and there's a tremendous sense of generosity in it. So, yeah, I would really encourage you to open your heart. I know it's a bit of a hard topic, but it's not. It's actually a really beautiful topic, and I would really love to share it with you.
Well, thank you so much. And I should mention that the investment as well for this program, we have kept it very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $109 or 1 payment of $297. You save about 10% when you pay in full. So a little bit of investment gets you a lot of reward over the long haul as you really open to a whole different kind of relationship. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you for this hour. Thank you for your upcoming course. And I know people who choose to join you are going to be blessed and more empowered to be the radiant souls on a mission of changing the game that they are.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
All right. Many blessings. Thank you all.